Which one of these three issues do you think is the actual issue when it comes to housing in New Zealand? Is it the cost of housing? Is it a lack of building of housing? Or is it the no clear immigration policy into New Zealand? Now let's unpack these, and before I do not know the answer, but after recording probably 600 podcasts in this financial literacy space and getting to speak to some experts around different topics and then just looking at what's happening in New Zealand, I don't really know, but it does seem strange. Now, if I start with Professor Paul Spoonley, now he is a person who studies demography and trends of population in New Zealand, and from the conversations I've had with him, it looks like we have an aging population which eventually they're not going to need as many homes. They will pass away, they will let them go, things like that. And we also aren't replenishing New Zealanders through the birth rate. So it's been decreasing. But at the same time, we've had a number of people coming to New Zealand, and he sort of says to me, oh, that there's no clear plan around immigration. So that, I guess, would make it easy to conclude that the issue is that we have a lot of people coming to New Zealand and we don't have enough houses for those people. So another way that I heard it explained is if we ignored immigration for a second and just said, what demand is there for new houses from current New Zealanders, excluding immigration? I don't know what that correct terminology would be. Would it be citizens or whatever? But people that are already here. If we didn't have immigration, would there be a high demand for property? And maybe the answer is no, that there's not. But the demand keeps coming because we have more people who are moving to New Zealand. But I think that's actually tracked as a number too, but I can't remember what the exact term is, but I'll see if I can find it at some stage. But anyway, then it gets really confusing because you think, well, okay, so house prices are going up and they're unaffordable because we keep bringing a lot of people into New Zealand. But then we've got a lot of Kiwi people leaving New Zealand. So if we didn't have demand for property in New Zealand, is it that they can't find, the people who are leaving New Zealand, are they leaving because it's not affordable enough? So then the issue would be, well, the cost of property in New Zealand is too high. Is it too high because the cost of materials, or is it the fact that there's too much demand for it and we're not building them fast enough? But I live in Auckland, and often when I drive around Auckland, I'm blown, and I fly a lot around New Zealand. I can't believe how much development is going on, and I can't believe how much is actually being built. Um, so to me, it seems like we're building a lot of houses and apartment blocks are popping up, and there's infill, and there's my old flat that I used to live at when I go to uni. I drive past it, and now there's a house out the back of that, and people are doing small developments. Developers are doing large developments, and it feels like for ages now people have been going hard trying to build more property. So it's strange to me. I feel like we're trying to solve that, and maybe simply, well, we're just not building enough, and that's what people would say. But I wonder if we slowed down all of the immigration and just said, no, like we have to maintain the country and reset without immigration, like what would happen? And now I guess there would be a whole stream of downflow effects of doing something like that, and it wouldn't just be that simple. But I do wonder if, house prices would stay a little bit stagnant. But I guess the other part of it is it really that we continue to artificially blow up house prices and they're not really worth what they are? So instead of them just having a utility value of, i.e., a roof over the head, instead we've been conditioned to have the Kiwi dream, my home, my castle. The banks are always on about it. They make TV shows about getting on the ladder. No one even knows where the fuck the ladder goes to. We have grand designs, and we built a lot of status around properties, and then the banks are able to lend a lot of money on those, and more money gets created, and it ends up going through the system through property. And we're just like oblivious to the fact that this is kind of what's happening, and then their bank results come out and we go, oh my god, I can't believe the banks make so much money, and then here we all are like chasing debt for the thing that they can finance, which that I guess is another element that like a lot of people don't think about. Now it's such a confusing like round and round and round, so I'd love to know what you think the underlying problem is that continues to contribute to house prices seemingly being out of reach of Kiwi people. Now, a lot of people would say, well, how do you measure that? And again, I don't know, but economists will have, you know, different takes on it. But then people will roll out data and people will disagree with it and be like, no, this is how it should be measured. But realistically, if we just think simply, the average house price to income is a very high multiple, and it means that a lot of our income that we earn for all these people now currently going to work has to go towards the cost of living and housing in New Zealand because it's so darn expensive. Now, then if we look at it, we objectively and look at something like that of, okay, why do we keep doing that? Well, we keep bringing people in to sort of keep the property bubble going, to then fuel more of that demand, and then also keep the economy going so that hopefully asset prices increase and the economy's stable, and then people can borrow against their property and put it on the mortgage or get access to even more credit to go and buy the spa, do the trip, do the renovation, upgrade it, put in, you know, do the development, and then like it just keeps going and it keeps going and going and going. Now, more and more people are then saying, well, this just seems too unattainable. But also what we do, like maybe it's designed to do that because we have to protect it because the economy is so reliant on property prices increasing. So, you know, I listened to someone the other day in the non-mainstream media and they were asking about house prices, and this person was explaining two different types of data, and one set of data said that house prices were increasing and the other set of data said that it wasn't. And the person doing the interview was like, oh, well, I'd rather listen to the one where it says house prices are going up. So I think we've got two types of people in New Zealand, and one is that I don't want to see house prices continue to go up because how the hell am I ever going to afford a property? But then the bulk of people, which I think is the majority at the moment, is no, I want house prices to go up because that's the biggest investment that they have made, and that is where their bias lies and their net worth sits. So they want to see it go up because the wealth effect, and to back up that they've made the right decision and they haven't got other forms of investment. So they want their utility purchase, i.e. their property, to be the thing that gives them financial security mentally, but also into the future. And then obviously people start talking about, well, I'll downsize in the future and access the equity, because really, you know, a house is illiquid and you can't actually quickly access the equity that you build up in it without more debt or selling it or moving. But anyway, topic for another day on that too. So it's such a big rabbit hole once you go down it and try and figure out what the hell is going on here. But you know, then what we do as well is we say, right, well, you know, we introduced KiwiSaver and we're trying to encourage people to save for their retirement because we know that that's a problem. So then, yep, okay, there's problems there. Let's save for that. We want to try and take pressure off of the government. Let's encourage more people to spend, to save, because we're being so encouraged by the big corporates and what to spend all the time. Let's save some and save resources for the future. But then straight away, like what we do in New Zealand is we go, oh, we should let people access their KiwiSaver to buy their first property. Now that's again like another video, because most of us would think, well, that's a great thing. But in Australia, I think they're having a conversation about this at the moment and saying, oh, we don't need to do this experiment. Look at what New Zealand did, and all that that's done is continued to push up house prices even more. But again, like people would, no, that's not what's pushed up house prices. But if you think about somebody who contributes to KiwiSaver from about 15, and if they pull their KiwiSaver out at 35 to buy a property, well, I think that they end up at about 65. This is based on like earning the median income and getting about a 7% compounded return. They end up with about $350,000 at 65. Now, the person who doesn't do that, they end up with about triple of that. Now, they end up with about 1.2. Now, recently there was some data came out that said you'd need $1 million for retirement, and everyone shat the bed and were like, you shouldn't be talking like that. That's crazy. That's going to discourage people. But it actually would be very possible to have people contributing to KiwiSaver saving through to 65 from 15 without interrupting it. But the problem is, we interrupt it, and we're like, no, take it all out and interrupt compounding, which is actually one of the main investing rules, which is don't interrupt compounding. We're like, no, interrupt it. Just when you built that good snowball up at around 35, you might have six figures if you really got cranking early on and didn't touch it, even if you had like 50. But the point is that you missed the double. So you're not then going to double it again to 45, to 55, to 65. So you miss 3 lots of double. So you reset it and go all the way back to the start. But then people would argue, no, but you've got your property and that's going up. And some people probably even believe that that goes up faster than stocks and, you know, whatever. So there's so many videos you could do just based on one trying to go through this thought process alone. But here we're so protective of the housing market that we've like incentivized investing into it. We've incentivized taking out your KiwiSaver. Even if you take out your KiwiSaver, we'll give you a grant to get into your first home. So we think that we're solving all these problems to try and help people get onto the property ladder, which is just basically like signing up for a massive loan and then not realizing, hey, how do we actually work to get off that? We should say, hey, would you like to get onto the property treadmill? Well, because you're always going to be sprinting and you can't put your feet on the side. You've got to keep going, otherwise the bank's going to take it from you. You're going to fall off the back. We should be teaching people how to try and slow the treadmill down, but we don't. Instead, we talk about it as like the ladder, you know, the ladder to the next thing and whatever. But obviously, a lot of people, that's what they want to achieve in life, and that's what we've told people success is. So you're going to have a lot of friction around this over a long period of time because, like, a lot of people don't want to understand, you know, the ladder or equity or whatever. They just want to have a chill life where they buy a property and they can afford to and they can carry on. And it's not happening at the moment. And it's broken for a lot of people. And they're going, well, fuck this, I'm going to move to Australia. So, yeah, it is a very, very confusing and topical situation. I think something we'll continue to have more conversations about in the future. But the framework almost seems to be set for house prices like not to increase and not to inflate, but we keep telling people that they will, and maybe they will because we are doing it deliberately, and we're going to keep bringing people into the country to keep fueling GDP growth through immigration to replace the population because Kiwi people aren't having babies because they probably can't afford to, like we used to be able to, and you know the baby boomers are going to slowly die. So we're not replacing the population ourselves, so we're doing it through immigration. So it's really, really fascinating, and it's going to be one of those contentious issues that continue to be a big part of political debates and even people's own thinking and the decisions that they end up making. So yeah, if you've made it this far, love to know from your side, like, what do you think is the overarching issue underneath all of this that continues to see house prices be such a big topic in New Zealand and creating this fear of, you know, not being able to succeed nor get on the ladder nor have a good life and actually afford to live in New Zealand? What do you think's going on?